One.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Sharon Florentine, and welcome to today's DevOps.com webinar, The Power of Connections. This is going to be one of the most fun, most awesome webinars I, and hopefully you, have ever attended through DevOps.com. But before we get started, I need to go through my housekeeping items with you. And they are, please remember that this session is being recorded. So if you miss any or all of it, you can go back and watch it again. We will send you an email with instructions for accessing the webinar on demand. You are always welcome to visit us at www.devops.com/webinars, and it will be there for you as well. We are taking questions throughout the presentation. I'm going to be posing a lot of questions to Eric and Lance today. You are welcome to submit your own as well, and we will have a great discussion. You can use the Q&A tab on your console to do that. We'll try and get to as many as we can throughout the next hour. Stick around till the end too, because we are doing our drawing for 4 $25 Amazon gift cards, and you will definitely want to see if you are a winner. All right, so with that, I am pleased to introduce to you Lance Knight, who is the president and COO of ConnectALL, and Eric Robertson, who is an SVP and strategic advisor with ConnectALL. I'm Sharon Florentine, and we are going to have an awesome conversation. We're going to cover, well, you know what? I'm going to let Lance walk us through our agenda here, and then we'll get right into the first topic. Lance.
Hey, thank you so much, Sharon. You know, I thought it'd be really cool to kind of do something different with this webinar. And our marketing guy, Tim, came up with this idea of, why don't we just ask a bunch of questions about the power of connections, and Eric and I will answer them and maybe even debate them. Who knows? Sometimes we do differ in our opinions. And that'd be a great topic. And we want to focus on the power of connections. You know, in software delivery, we have found that connecting tools, people, processes, technology is a big theme. And why is that important? And that's what we're going to try to talk about today as you're asking those questions of what are the important things about the power of connections. And I asked Eric to join me last minute because I was afraid to go it alone.
It was, I'm pretty intimidating. I mean, I would be scared of me too. So, yeah. All right. So let's get right into it. So our first topic that we're going to talk about is why connections are so critical in software delivery. And to kick this off, let's start with what types of connections exist, first of all, when you're talking about delivering software.
Well, this is actually interesting. And Eric, we're going to let you start with where you're going to start with, and I'm going to start with the DevOps back up. But there are connections and types of different connections throughout software delivery, not just the tools we work in, but also the way we work together. Those connections include the feedback loops, all those different things, all the way from the DevOps scanning tools where people are connecting back and talking about the things they found, to the connection to business outcomes. So Eric, you had the business outcome piece, because I know that's one big piece that you really like to talk about, is how to connect executive business outcomes, OKRs, down into your software delivery value stream.
Yeah, exactly, Lance. I think in one of the webinars we did, we had a very interesting poll that showed what are the key objectives that companies were looking for, and it was very interesting because we had key objectives like increased customer satisfaction, improvement in operational and delivery processes, and increased decision speed making, and things of that nature, gains of efficiency. And we had one that was last on the list. It was increase in employee engagement. And it was kind of interesting because it was a poll, and actually the one that came back the lowest level was increase in employee engagement. And it was kind of interesting because throughout the conversation, what we discovered is that the people aspect, right? Your talent, your workforce, they're key enablers, right? They're part of this process, tools, people enablement in order to deliver these capabilities. And so they're a key piece, a key part of this story. And so I definitely would like to talk about that aspect as well.
Yeah, I mean, really, without people, you don't have the process or the technology, right? I mean, it's kind of a little bit of there. It's a little bit important.
Yeah. The technology is designed to connect the people through their tasks and through what they're doing. So whether that's at the management team, executive level, or connecting the OKRs and things I'm trying to do through that tool, all the way down to connecting the technology that's in production and then connecting back from monitoring and scanning tools. So software delivery is all about connecting with the different teams and moving stuff into production.
Exactly. And definitely, I think I'm sure we're going to touch on this about the difference or what we see from the integration versus the connection piece, right? And the linkage there.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I'll get that statement out I'd like to say about connecting isn't the power. It's what you do with your connections that's important.
Exactly.
All right. So should we move on to the next question?
Yes.
You guys ready? Okay. So where is the greatest level of disconnect happening today and why?
I love that image though. So Eric and I think we're going to agree on this one. So I'm going to let Eric get that out there on where the biggest disconnect in software delivery is and why.
Yeah, I think probably what we're seeing is that the biggest disconnect is between the business goals and the software delivery execution, right? It's something that happens between, because usually the strategy is done in another system. It's actually a different set of different stakeholders, set of people, right? And the actual execution of the work and the delivery of that work, that's multiple systems. And now platforms are being introduced into the mix, and different platforms also. And so that is a key piece, right? Being able to tie the strategy and the execution together. And that's probably that's what we're hearing from customers, the biggest disconnect between the ability to measure the results are disconnected. And so they really don't understand what is being delivered. How is that really impacting the business, and how is that really aligning to the objectives and the goals that the company and they need to achieve for their customers? Do you concur?
And so absolutely, I agree with that point of view, right? So in software delivery from an executive perspective, because it's not truly connected, right? Yeah. A lot of times it's a black box, it's unpredictable. I don't know when I'm going to get my outcomes or what I'm going to deliver or whether I'm going to accomplish my goals as I enter into different things that I do with software delivery, with IT and all of that. So it becomes an unconnected black box. And how do I push down or communicate effectively the business goals and why these things are important? So what ends up happening is software delivery gets faster and faster and faster, and flow is improved. Value stream management's about flow, and we are really good at that and showing flow. But what doesn't happen is, are we delivering stuff of value?
Yeah.
And because it's not connected to the business, you have no idea. So from a DevOps perspective, I might be doing a release every minute, like every second. But what does it really matter if it's not connected to value coming from the business? Then it's just I'm releasing the same thing over and over and over again into production, and I don't know what value I'm delivering. So, strategic planning, initiatives, understanding the importance of stuff, that's the biggest disconnect in software delivery today. and why is in there as well. So what happens because of this disconnect, Eric?
Yeah, what happens because of this disconnect is we have folks really touting the continuous integration and continuous delivery using metrics, like you said, that could be around velocity, even quality. We could throw that in there as well, as they may be achieving fantastic quality and achieving these great rates. And I'm actually introducing software that is not driving up my support costs, but I'm doing a continuous delivery and continuous deployment. But where is that continuous value, right? So it's more than just about the integrating the tools, the products, or even the platforms, right? It's about connecting, synchronizing, consolidating the activities across the digital and IT functional areas, right? And that's where the value streams, being able to measure that and being able to make sure that you're supporting an outcome is essential.
Awesome. And folks, I just want to stress, I mean, if you in the audience, if you've got your own comments, I've got an echo is what I have. If you've got your own comments or, anything you want to add to the discussion, go ahead and put that right in the chat or in Q&A, and we'll try and bring it into the conversation as well. So,
Definitely.
All right. Next question. Oh, see, thank you. Armand says they believe the lack of alignment with and across teams is a big problem with disconnect in companies. Yeah. All right. So question 3, what types of risks do these disconnected organizations face?
There's a lot of risk in there, right? And there's different types of risk too. And I think it also, when you think about risk itself up and down, the governance model of the value stream, there's risk at different pieces because it's not connected. Right? Eric would go and talk about the risk of missing your objectives, the risk of not achieving your business outcomes, of delivering the wrong software, of doing all of that. Then you come over to the DevOps side. If I'm not connected to the right way, I have the risk of delivering highly defective codes. It's going to introduce risk to my overall total organization from a security perspective, right? So if I'm not getting amplified feedback loops from my scanning tools, there's risk. I could be delivering all the wrong things, right? So there's so much risk if you're not connected. And I'm not just talking about connecting your tools. I'm talking about connecting the people, right? Today you're connecting through email and monitoring stuff, right? So there's a lot of risk if you don't work in a connected world or so on. And that's been, actually, it's interesting. I think that has been exacerbated over the last few years as we're not connected in the offices anymore. Right? We're all kind of hybridly working, connected in all kinds of different ways. And tools like we're using today allows us to stay connected in a work type environment. Eric, I'm sure you can elaborate on the risks of not aligning your outcomes and your deliverables to business goals.
Well, yes, I think one of the audience members hit it on the nail when they talked about the disalignment with the teams, right? Because they're different teams now. And because of the advent of that IT is not really siloed anymore, right? We're now going from this project to more of the product delivered through services. And we're now becoming more integrated and connected to other organizations, right? Like our legal and sales is now playing in a critical role. And the entity that's playing even more of a critical role now is the customer. So if you're not connected to your customer, you're not able to deliver the customer experience that they're expecting now in this day and age. And if you're not able to deliver to the customer experience, you lost the game. So I think that's probably the biggest risk to companies today, right now.
I like to, an audience member has mentioned too, aside from that customer experience risk, that, and I think this ties back to the speed thing that we were talking about earlier, that, everything's going so fast that, there's obviously the risk that no matter how connected teams are, if they're not connected in the right way,
Yep.
Things could slip past flaws, vulnerabilities, and then you've got, attack risks and disaster risks.
That's true too, right? I mean, if your scanning tools aren't working right, and that's not connected rapidly back to development, and in DevOps we call that amplified feedback loops, right? If that's not happening, you're introducing all types of risk from a business continuity perspective. So all of this is very risky. So getting people connected and collaborating and working together, good empathetic organization, it reduces a lot of risk.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really from the standpoint of being able to risk now is a very good point. It's even in our day and age now, because of compliance and regulations and other type of political and other aspects that for 20 or maybe 30 years ago, companies didn't have to, maybe 10 years ago, companies did not have to worry about. But now every company, no matter how small they are, because they're on this, the medium that allows them to have a touch point across the entire world, there's new risks now that they have to have an understanding of, have a connection with. That's even more paramount as well. So that's where the connections, not only from the standpoint of, let's say, a technology platform, but also for understanding the customer journey, right? And understanding exactly all of the key components to that. Because if you do not, then that opens yourself up to even more risks that you may not even be aware of today. That could be very costly down the line.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Just one more thing I want to mention. And I'll just circle it back around to when we were talking about customer experience, because I was editing something yesterday, and the statistic was customers will walk away from your organization after one bad experience.
Yes.
One.
Yes.
They give you a second chance. They may have loved you for years, and one, and they will just, nope, sorry, they'll go to your competitor. So, I mean, that's a huge risk. It's critical to address that.
Yes. You hit it right on the nail. And that's why I said I think we're living in the experience economy now. I'm going to go ahead and coin it.
Okay.
Right.
You heard it here first, folks.
You coin stuff every day. We got to write down all these things you coined, because yesterday you coined something else, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. I never do that.
All right. So question 4, and I think we've touched on this quite a bit, and I think we can make assumptions based on the conversation over the past couple minutes, that why do these connections matter so much in software delivery?
Well, in the new world of customer experience, and I was trying to slip in that word that Eric just coined, by the way, and it slipped my mind. It's really about, why does it matter so much? Because unlike when I developed software a long time ago, there's maybe one person that did the whole thing. We all remember the stories where video games were developed. The hardware, software, cabinetry, everything was developed by one person, right? And the last video game I wrote in the 80s, I developed the whole thing, right on my Commodore 64.
Yeah.
That's not the way it works today, right? There are more people involved. There's more things going on. So if you're developing the user interface, or you're working on the systems that connect into the financial systems in COBOL or whatever, it takes more than one person today to develop software and put it into production. And if you're not connected through that development and understand what everybody's working on, and it's even more complicated with the servers and the systems, and everything's on SaaS and not on your desktop anymore.
Yep.
And there's more security risks, because if you're isolated on that Commodore 64, nobody was going to hack it, right?
Right.
Maybe my brother, but he didn't know what he was doing. So the point I'm getting at is it becomes more and more important that we're connected, because there's more people involved, and there's more risk, and there's more things that are important to your business outcomes that have to get tied into that as well.
Yes, yes. And I would still argue that the Commodore 64 is probably the best DevOps platform I ever worked
I
on.
accept that argument, because that is something we are kindred about, right?
I will still defend that to this day. But
That's an
here's actually
interesting argument.
I think in between the integration and the connection, I think there's this interoperability, right? And interoperability of course, is more advanced and meaningful than integration, right? Because interoperability incorporates content from multiple disparate and entirely independent systems, right? To advance the effective delivery of, let's say, a solution to the market, right? So this is where the connections come into play, right? Because now what we're talking about is, because if we have that interoperability, that's why interoperability is the key piece. You just can't go from integration then connection. I think this integration and interoperability gives you that context, that meaning, that additional intelligence, where I can connect the key digital systems, platforms, people, and that data becomes information in a way that brings about new meaning and context and insights, right? Through a combination of multiple and diverse sources of data. So what I meaning is that you now have to have a platform that really not just connects in and sends some data back and forth. It really needs to have and understand the semantic knowledge around how do I bring in these data sources, and what is the meaning of that, and how is that interacted across. And a perfect example of that is let's say that my request to fulfillment value stream, right, in my DevOps pipeline, right, is now it now understands, because it's connected to a contract management system, legal ops system, now understands that it needs to associate this digital asset, this contract, right, that it needs to be defined and refined by the customer, because I got that information from a customer experience system or platform, right? And all that needs to be digitally packaged up together and delivered as a product. Delivered as a product through a service. So is all connected all together, right? And by formulating that together, we're now building and ensuring, right, that experience economy, or I'm coining a new term, human experience, right, between the delivery workforce and the customer is tightly associated.
Well, I don't think you can take human experience. I think that's been around a while.
And human experience in context of DevOps and what we're talking about here.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
I'll give you that.
So Paul has a great question here. So I'm going to jump in and ask this one. How do you make sure that those business objectives are fully understood by the technical staff so that the solutions they create end up fulfilling the organization's goals? And Paul, I hope that I paraphrased your question correctly.
So I'm going to start out by saying I'm only talking because I know Eric really wants to answer this question. Because this is something that's right up his alley. So I thought I'd
cut him off.
Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah.
I know this is right up your alley. So
No, go right ahead, Lance. Mm-hmm.
Oh no, I was going to let you answer it because I know this is right up your.
Well, I was going to let you answer. Why don't you talk about? How about this?
Well, somebody think of poor Paul and answer his question.
I know, really, poor Paul. So, in my perspective,
it's a two-part question because essentially, I think that there is this concept of being able to, when you're defining your strategy, to really look at it as being able to capture the outcomes, right? And there are different techniques out there. One of the ones that we've been seeing that I have successfully implemented is discuss OKRs, objective and key results. But what I have seen, though, is that at the strategic strategy kind of level, maybe the C-suite level, and definitely at the portfolio level, maybe at the program level. But when you start getting down to team level, it gets a little bit tricky. And that's where Lance introduced me to more of the goal question metric. And now I discovered a way, and I'll let Lance talk about the goal question metric, and then I'll talk about how I use that goal question metric to tie that to the OKRs so we can get that alignment. So Lance, you want to take goal question metric and go from there?
Yeah, so goal question metrics are interesting. But I want to be more, I'm going to come back to that. I want to specifically kind of answer this question about how do we communicate business objectives, goals, and so on down through the organization. And that, again, is through the power of connections, right? So as work gets broken down, I'm communicating where that relates to. And having that ability to traverse to the objectives and the outcomes and the initiatives and the things allows us to communicate and connect better. So if I'm looking at just a task, I know that's related to this user story. That's related to this epic story. It's connected to this business goal and objectives. And having that type of visibility is really important. And because all of us work in disconnected systems, a large amount of time, that doesn't happen. So if you don't have connected systems, then as an executive, I think it's really important that you get everybody connected to the goal of why you're connecting, why you're building this, and so on. And that allows you not to put into production or waste time on things that might not matter today. For example, a lot of times there's all this discussion about technical debt. And I'll wrap that up with a story, I guess, right? So in the 2000s, I developed a shop floor management system. And all I did was update it so it worked in the 2000 timeframe. I updated the software and did all the stuff so that it would work. Ran on a green screen. It was technical debt. But it still did what we needed it to do. And then I could focus on other things to drive the business forward. And the people who are writing code and know what they're doing need to have that information so that they can make the right decisions based upon business outcomes and business goals to do that. And if we're not pushing, or if we're not communicating and disseminating our goals, where we're going, why we're doing what we're doing, it's hard for those people who are sitting there deciding, do I work on this technical debt or do I work on this? So your system should be able to help you with that. And then as executives, we should all have good communication skills so that everybody knows where we're going and why we're doing things. Because a lot of people are making decisions up and down the software delivery value streams. Goal question metric. So I was introduced to that, I don't know, a whole bunch of years ago, where you ask a question, right? And you decide a goal. So if I have a goal of increasing revenue or getting more depositors or increasing my user experience through to be able to compete better and looking at all of those different things. Then you can say, okay, what are the questions I need to ask? So if it's user experience, okay, what is a good user experience? How do I know if I'm having a good user experience? All right, so then you can look at a metric. So you kind of take this thought process of a goal, you ask a few questions, and you have your metrics. In sales, it could be, I want to generate revenue. Okay, how many leads do I need to generate revenue? How many sales do I need to do? The metrics are, how many leads am I getting? How many demos are we doing? So that applies all the way up and down when you're looking at this from a different perspective. And we have a document out there. It's called the Metrics Guide. Everybody's welcome to download it. And that actually goes through goal question metrics for things like the DORA metrics and the flow metrics and why they're relevant, right? So if you have a goal to deliver software quicker, okay, what are the questions? And what are the metrics? And I really let you quantify those as you're doing it. So I really like the goal question metric perspective. Anyway, those were a lot of questions on this one question, which is awesome.
Yep. Yeah. So let me continue from that one. So an OKR is almost the same as a goal, but with a few differences, right? So for example, a natural way for people to come up with goals is to say, like Lance mentioned, grow revenue to $1 million. Here we can spot two main components: a direction, grow revenue, and a target, 1 million, right? Now, OKR framework prescribes that you split a goal like this, an example, into two parts: objective, right, thesis, and actionable through key results, right, which could be like the KPIs, meaningful but actionable. And the objective always answers the question, where do I want to go? And the key results answer the question, how will I know I'm getting there? Hence the goal, grow revenue to $1 million, can be split into an objective, grow revenue, and the key result, $1 million in revenues, right? So that's a simple way of kind of putting it. Now, sure, you can improve the quality of the objective, grow revenue, but what I just demonstrated is a way how you can convert that goal into an OKR, right? And the nice way about doing this is that converting these goals that Lance is talking about into OKRs is recommended for a number of reasons, right? Because it helps to increase the company-wide transparency, as everyone should be able to understand the objective, right? Key results are a little bit more technical sometimes, and sometimes don't appeal and aren't really understood by everyone, especially when you start moving up the chain, right? And so, for example, if your engineering team has all sorts of complicated, more sophisticated metrics that they use to measure apps performance, API response times, things of that nature, most people outside the engineering team probably have no clue what that means. But if these were key results for an objective to have an enterprise-grade app performance, everybody should understand what that team is working on, right? So that's an ability to start associating that work that Lance was talking about, right, into measurable results that map directly to impact and objectives that's driving key business outcomes.
I told you he likes this topic.
Hey, that's fantastic.
It is.
All right. So
how many questions do we have?
How many? I believe there are 15.
Okay,
so,
we got to be going though.
Right.
No, we got to hurry up. We got to like DevOps this thing. All right. So let's see. I think we should do one more on this, and then I want to switch into talking about connecting tools. And then there are, so yeah, here's the next question. What role does value stream management play in enabling all of these connections and the power of connections?
Well, I know Eric wants me to answer this one. So So it's really very fascinating when you start to take a look at the way you're developing software. And I'm drawing from my time at manufacturing. When you're manufacturing a component, a widget, I manufactured airplane parts. All of that would come into your value stream and flow around the shop floor.
Yep.
And each of those cells, they were called cells, and where they did different things in a cell.
Yeah.
For example, the raw material would come in and go into the first cell where I worked, where it would get extruded and pulled and get ready to be forged, which was a different cell. That's a value stream, right? The material is flowing through the value stream, and they remove waste from it so it's more effective. Well, when you think about it, that's the same thing we're kind of doing in software delivery. Work and take comes into portfolio. The portfolio team breaks it down to deliverable components, puts it into the backlog of another piece of that. So not having your software delivery cells connected means that you're not moving through those same things. And somebody just asked a question about a governance framework. Yes, governance model is the thing. I've done a few different presentations on having a governance model to support that. But the different sections of that governance model have to be connected between them. And so, for example, if I have coming into my value stream, I have an idea of something I want to get created that becomes an epic that travels through my portfolio, that then works down and travels through my backlog for delivery. And then I have what I call the material flow, which is code, build, which is your DevOps pipeline, all that coming together.
Yep.
So that's where value stream comes into play, because you have to be able to see that. And it's not like when I was in manufacturing, I saw the value stream. Right? I could see the products come in the door. I could actually physically see that those materials, bill of materials to make it, go into those cells that get put together. And there was expediters making sure that was moving through. You don't see that in software delivery in the same way.
Yes, that is very true, because I also come from a manufacturing background, worked at Motorola in the early days. The big difference I always pointed out is that every day I pretty much knew what the end product was going to be. And I knew pretty much all the steps that it went through. And it wasn't much changes, if any changes, because it was all about really quality and reducing the number of defects, and velocity was a key metric as well, and quality and velocity. What's different now, though, is that things are changing so fast now that I can quickly activate features due to feature flagging. I'm doing experiments. In other words, we didn't really do too much experiments on the manufacturing floor back in those days, right? Now it's almost a requirement. Now it is built in. If you're doing it right, your experiment is built into your process, right? Your discovery is connected with the demand and the flow of outcomes.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the big difference and change. And that's to me is where the value stream management piece becomes even more essential. And
well, the other interesting piece here too is along that path from software delivery and along that path in manufacturing, I'm gathering information. That information gives me metrics.
Yes.
Right? That'll give me the flow metrics of how things are flowing. Is that part? How long is my wait state? How long we've waiting here? That's doing a value stream map. In software delivery, it's a little bit different, but value stream management itself allows me to see. I can go and measure it. I can see how things are moving in my stream. I can design out a governance model that'll make me more effective or efficient, right, across my different states and so on. Then I can use solutions to automate. So I can then say, okay, rather than having a human do this, I could have this automatically happen based upon this governance. And so that's kind of where value stream management really comes into play. And the connections plays here is actually being able to see it. Okay, so they're in this tool. I can see those tools. They're using email to communicate. Maybe we should do something different there. And then as we start to move down the delivery pipeline against idea to code and production, that you can start to see as well.
Exactly.
Unless somebody got in and did a Visio diagram and sat out and did all that.
Right.
That happened. And a lot of people don't do that because they weren't thinking about it in value streams. They're not thinking about it in systems thinking. They're not thinking about lean principles and how to use those in software delivery. And now what I'm really excited about is I have a background in those things. And we're starting to use that in software delivery today. All right, so what are the 8 areas of waste? Okay, well, that's why do I need this step, right? The fallacy, though, now that I'm down this rabbit hole of my opinion, is people think that value stream management and software delivery is the metrics. And do we provide those metrics? I mean, can you get those metrics? Absolutely, but it's not. Value stream management is one thing, and we've said this so many times at ConnectALL. It's human. A human needs to look at this. A human needs to decide and be able to show how their software delivery is happening. And the other point I have too, from a software perspective, value stream management. And so for the whole audience, it says, you're not going to go buy value stream management as a feature of some tool. Value stream management is not a feature. We have a value stream management platform at ConnectALL, but value stream management itself is not a feature of a solution. It is a human endeavor that you get trained to do.
Yep.
So
somehow I got down that rabbit hole of that one. So sorry for that.
That's okay. This is all about going down these different rabbit holes, but we've got about 18 minutes until we need to wrap up, and there are a couple things coming up here that I really want to hit. So audience members, forgive me as I flip ahead.
Yep.
All right, so I want to talk about tooling first, because I think this is obviously an important part of connection, and how, we've talked about the people part and a little bit about the processes, but let's talk about the technology and how tools can help you in this VSM process. So how does connecting the different tools together enable connections elsewhere in the SDLC?
SDLC, that's a flashback. I thought we were
still a thing. Still a thing.
That's true. That's true.
So here's my point of view on connecting tools. The connection of tools brings no value to an organization at all. I'm surprised Eric didn't jump on my strategic pause there. The connection of tools brings no value. It's what the connection can do that brings value.
Yep.
Right? I have connected my tools to synchronize information. I have connected my tools to interoperate the movement and flow. It's what you can do with the connection that is the value. I've connected the tools so I can harvest information, so I can give business analytics and understand if I'm achieving my outcomes. The connection itself isn't. It's what you do with it. It's just like, that's true in the human world too, right? I'm connected with Eric on LinkedIn. I'm connected with all kinds of people on LinkedIn. What do I do with that connection? If I'm not doing stuff with LinkedIn or whatever, then there's no value to that. I've got I don't know how many friends on Facebook, right?
Right.
I never talk to any of them. So how is that important? You see where I'm going though, right? It's
Yep.
It's what you do with that connection that is valuable, both from a human perspective and a tooling perspective, right? So that's another reason why I say value stream management and connecting the tools is not a feature.
And
Right.
here's another great point, that you can boost the, the operational aspects and the performance, as Armand says, and that can achieve better prioritization, better scheduling, and that in turn helps the people to do their jobs better and connect better with each other if they're all seamlessly able to get their jobs done.
Exactly. And he hit it on the point that Lance and I were referring to around is a human endeavor, right? We want to bring that back into the picture because it's been a lot of tool, technology. But what is this really about, right? I am still struggling to integrate planning and budgeting with our agile tools. Why is that? Well, because I am not effectively able, as a person that does just responsible for this job, I'm not able to do my job. I'm not able to effectively execute, right? And so how do you bring that person into the value stream, right? Because the value stream is more than just the tools, the processes. It's the people, it's the human aspect as well. They're valuable. I would say they're more valuable, right? Because they drive a good point there.
That's very true. You know, in manufacturing, if you weren't trained to use the machines in those cells, your flow went down.
Yeah.
So it's a human thing. And, using tooling to connect your different solutions, because those are still siloed, that's important, but it's what you do with the connection, right? So if I'm following the governance model and something gets to a certain state, it should automatically go down. Now there's value in that flow, in that connection, or in that feedback loop. That's the value, not the connection.
Yeah, basically what we're talking about, if we just in simple terms, it allows the value stream management system should help you define, create, deliver, and sustain value for your customers.
Nay, I would say it needs to help you see, measure, and automate your software delivery value stream. That's a ConnectALL tagline, so that's why I threw that in there.
That's the connection. That's the connection.
There it is. So I wanted to get to this particular question here. These two particular questions. So again, forgive me for skipping through. I mean, gosh, these are all great questions. We're going to have to do another one of these webinars, I think, and finish this out. Oh, there it was. So this one is particularly near and dear to my heart. How do you do this? How is this philosophy impacted as we're all working remote? Some of us may be starting to go back hybrid or going back into the office. How does that impact everything that we've been talking about today?
Wow, this is a whole bigger question, and I've been formulating some thoughts on this whole thing. This goes outside of software delivery, just into our normal world, right?
Yeah.
Now, here at ConnectALL, we all work from home anyway, so this had zero impact on us when we all, were on a shutdown and everybody was working home. Actually, take that back. It did have impact on me. My kids were here bothering the heck out of me. I'm trying to work and they're running around, and they're all in their 20s. I'm like, come on, we're trying to work. But the interesting part here is I've seen where some people have thrived in this hybrid work environment, and at the same time stayed connected with the organization. Now, at ConnectALL, we stay connected. We have meetings like this and share video and talk. We've been doing that forever. But other organizations, not. They feel disconnected. They don't feel connected to their organization.
Yes.
And that's a problem for some people because of the technology was not there at those companies to facilitate a level of connection. Just answering your emails does not mean you're connected. Right?
Yes.
It's having these types of meetings. I see Eric every day almost because we get on a meeting. Imagine if I didn't. So it's very interesting as you start to think about how staying connected is more important than it was when you're all in the office together.
Right.
You have to go out of your way to
I think it's an opportunity. I think that's a void, personally, and I think that's a void for companies that may not have the luxury or the structure that a lot of the technology companies have, right? I've seen it with family members that have positions or jobs that they were not able to have that type of connection. The technology the technology that was used was not optimal for their experience. It was optimal for a technical person. Right? I mean, even in the school system, right? I mean, really, can a third grader utilize a platform that's really designed for a developer? It was some struggle there. I won't say any names, but
or you could put that on the other end and say,
I think it's an opportunity where we talk about what we did around the integration, the interoperability, and the connection to create a user experience type of platform that's optimal for this new day and age.
It's true. You also can't just, so we've all worked from home, but I did work in an office for a period of time. And you could just yell over the top of the wall, hey, did you get that email?
Yeah.
We're ready to move that code to production. Are you ready to do that? Right? You can't do that in the same way anymore.
Yeah.
Right? I know you have phone and all that, but it's not the same thing. So you have to connect, automate, provide ways for people to connect as well. We do virtual happy hours every once in a while that let people connect.
Yeah.
I wanted to finish a point of view on your 3-year-old sentence. That problem was exacerbated when I did a family reunion on Zoom.
Yeah.
My parents aren't all that young.
Yeah.
And there were some people like, what's this button for? Oh my God.
And and it turns out the best way to interact and communicate with my nieces and nephews is roadblocks. That's when I first learned about roadblocks. What is this roadblock?
Yep.
You're going to see this hybrid work environment and this work from home environment continue to move forward. I believe we're in a definite shift of the working. We've been this way for a while, but now it's exacerbated and moving forward.
Yeah.
And it's even worse with software development because you have a daily stand-up and agile. Everybody get together in the meeting, sit down, and first thing in the morning and talk about what's going on. Well, how do you do those really effectively? Well, you got to have technology like this, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
All of that's kind of changing and so on. And I'm also seeing the hybrid work environment reduce productivity and also increase productivity with some people. I've been working from home for a long time. And I'm going to give you quick point of view on this. There are 3 types of people who work from home. There's the one who can't really get focused because of the interruptions, and they're doing all their family stuff, and they're thinking, hey, I can go do all that, right? And they're not being as productive as they can, so they're not getting their 8 hours in or whatever it is the time they need to work or accomplishing their goals. There's the people who get it just right? They sit at their desk at a certain time, they shut their door, they work for 4 hours, they go get lunch, they come back, they work again. And they're actually more productive because work interruptions aren't there.
Yeah.
And then there's the other ones. Those are the ones that are working all the time as they work from home, and they don't let it go and move aside. Now, I'm personally the third, which has had great impact on my life through these years. The goal is to be that one in the middle, the person that knows I need to get to work at 8 a.m. Let me treat it like I'm leaving the house. I'm just going to go sit at my desk, and I am going to work, and I'm going to get my stuff done. And those are the ones that are really successful at working from home.
Yeah.
And then there's another point I have on this. It's called time and place. And that's how you manage people. If you manage people through time and a place, you get that person in a place through that time. It doesn't mean you get your business outcomes. That doesn't mean that person is any more productive.
Yeah.
So this new world is going to be very interesting, and it's going to have more flexible time for people to work. And the task and the thing, the harder thing is ensuring that you're defining the outcomes you want and being very specific to the outputs so that you can accomplish those goals, because the connection and the interaction isn't happening along the path.
Yep.
That was way far down that particular rabbit hole, but those are points of views that I've had for years, right?
It's a good wrap up.
Yeah.
Good wrap up. I concur, Lance.
That was great. So we've got 4 minutes now, and I did want to ask one more question. I'm going to give each of you a minute to respond. How can organizations get started down this path?
The value stream management path and the connection path.
Well, let me jump ahead to the question, and then I will be able to tell you which path I'm talking about.
Okay.
Sorry. I missed it. Where did it go? Oof.
Well,
I'm so awkward right now.
The VSM path. The first thing you need to do to get down this path.
There it is.
Mm.
Well, if it's the value stream management path and looking at the values, the power of connections, to get started on this, first thing to do is map the value stream. Map your governance model, lay it out. Then now that I'm down that path, I can see where I need to connect better. And in order to improve communication, remove waste, do all that in software delivery. So if you want to get down this path, first thing you need to do is see it, because the value stream is not visible in software delivery.
Right.
And then I need to measure it, right? And then I can look for areas of automation. The first thing you do not do, this will be like 2 statements. The first thing you do not do is buy a tool and think that's going to solve it for you. The second thing you do not, the thing you do is map the value stream and move from there. But buying a tool right away is not going to get you started.
Yeah.
Learn how to do a value stream map. That's how you get started.
Yeah,
Eric?
I would differ just a little bit there. It's been in my experience that sometimes a value stream map is could be an arduous exercise. We're going to get a lot of folks in play, and a lot of organizations are in flight and they just can't stop and just immediately do it. I think what I've seen is a targeted type of approach. Like, for example, we mentioned tools. Well, the tools and the tool chain in your DevOps delivery. Let's go ahead and start there. Let's connect into those tools, map that out, right? We can connect virtually, right? Map that out. And that's a pretty good starting point, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to say this thing just shuts off.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Folks, thank you so much for joining us today. Our Amazon gift card winners for the day are Cal H, David M, Julia R, and Stan T. We'll send you all an email with instructions for claiming those gift cards. And to everyone else, we will send you an email for accessing this webinar on demand. Thank you so much for joining us. And thanks, Eric and Lance, for the awesome conversation. Thanks to all the audience members who sent in the questions. And hopefully we will be back again soon and we will continue this conversation. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks again, sir. Take care.